Well, hello, people of YouTube. It's Deephack here, and welcome to the real world, to the Deephack live stream and DCS news for the 10th of July 2021. I hope you guys enjoyed the video there, that F-16 dogfight / within visual range thingy, demonstrating the helmet-mounted sight and the ACM modes of the radar and the dogfight switch. Hello to everybody who's just joined me. I let him survive, yes. Hello Stevie B, hello Frantic Stone, hello Tog, hello Dave, and hello Alienware PC. Hello everyone. Welcome to the stream. So yes, that's tutorial 11 for the F-16 Viper, my ongoing series of tutorial videos. The next one, good question, what would be the next video? I will probably actually do the air-to-air gunnery video next, because we're starting to run out of content. There's not that much more that I can show you all, although, as you'll find out in the news next, there was a new thing just added to the F-16 in the form of the JSO, so that's rather exciting. Tog is asking, could it be a Kafir? Now, that I have no idea about. Maybe. Hello, Bina Babe. Welcome to the stream. Yes, that's pretty much it. I'm thinking that there may only be another 2 or 3 F-16 videos left, and then after that I'm going to go on to whatever will be my next aircraft for my tutorial series. Now my first thought is to go for the JF-17, because that's a really cool, capable, modern aircraft, and there's really very little tutorial content out there, and I think it's a super good aircraft. So I think I might go for the JF-17 next. However, I will source input from you delightful people, as always. So let me know if you guys have any preferences. Oh, hello. Thank you very much, Frantic, for your support. Could it be a tornado? Could be a tornado. I don't think it's going to be a tornado, but it could be a tornado. It's not impossible. Or a super étendard. That's possible. There are lots of possibilities here, but what's going to be the most likely? Dave is giving a vote for the JF-17. Unfortunately this week we don't have dotChuckles, so you're stuck with just me, unfortunately, for the DCS news. But I'm going to get started with the usual first thing being, of course, the my buttons aren't working. There we go. The DCS Newsletter from Eagle Dynamics. This week they're talking about the fact that they hope we all enjoyed the Marianas, and we've been exploring them. Optimization for both 2D and VR is ongoing. I'm really I'm really glad to see them write this. Like, it's a really funny departure from last week's newsletter, where they were quite bullish, almost suggesting, oh, you should really think about buying a better PC, or try not being low spec losers. This week they're saying that they are going to optimize it, which is exactly what I expected them to say, and exactly what I expected the case to be. This is supposedly the first map using the latest version of their Edge technology, and so of course, First Pass is going to be trading a bit of visual fidelity for performance, and I don't doubt that they'll find ways of making it just a little bit quicker. Frantic is really looking forward to the Typhoon. I'm really looking forward to the Typhoon too. I think that looks like a fantastic project. However, I expect we're not going to see that for a number of years. That's quite a daunting one for them to be taking on. There's going to be scheduled maintenance on their primary server. That's going to affect Module Manager, multiplayer services, and I believe the forums as well, although they don't mention that here. Mosquito is progressing well. Cockpit is near final. They're adding details to instrumentation color, reflections, and color balance. Work on the radio transmitter, as well as radio communications for voice chat, are approaching completion. External model is almost finished, and texturing is near completion. Yes. And there are also some in-development screenshots. Let's have a little look at these. I actually didn't look at these before. I didn't realise that they had these. Wow. Okay, right, yeah. Initial impressions, wow. This is looking very, very good indeed. This is a step above even what they've done with the F-16 and F-18 previously, I think. Both of which were looking fantastic. They actually call out the colours, and of course, we can see here there's some really quite bright colours going on in this cockpit. Looking really fantastic. I think this is this not the offset kind of radio operator or bomb aimer station? which is it's very, very interesting in itself. And this looks like the front cockpit. Yeah. Ooh, GF17. Yeah, they're quite right to be proud of this one. That's looking really quite splendid, I think. So the Wooden Warrior is coming soon, progressing nicely. Yeah, what else do they say? Summer sale, still ongoing, as we've mentioned in the last couple of weeks. Guns out for the summer sale. And yeah, they mention a little bit more about the Mosquito as well. They say that they're improving gauge visibility by refining center and side panel color gamma values. They're using the same pre-calculated ray tracing technology used in the Hind. The canopy glass in the Hind is looking really, really fantastic. Frantic, excuse my ignorance, what is the Mosquito? It's a fighter bomber. It's a day, and well, it was available in so many different versions. This particular one, as I understand it, is the fighter bomber variant. The Mosquito was also produced in day fighter, night fighter, fighter bomber, and reconnaissance variants, I believe. So it kind of did a bit of everything. The Mosquito was quite a formidable aircraft. Pretty fast, as I recall, as well. It's a twin-engined aircraft, twin-crewed, and very, very capable. Yes, so yeah, the canopy glass, and actually the instrument glass in the Hind, really fantastic looking, and they're saying that they're using the same kind of technology in the Mosquito, so that's going to be really cool. I'm interested to see if they're going to transition this across to other aircraft. I might have been imagining it, but the most recent time that I flew the Harrier, the canopy glass seemed much, much nicer than I remember it being, and even being somewhat reminiscent of the Hind. So I don't know if some of this technology is already being enabled for other modules or not. It's entirely possible that I'm imagining it. But anyway, the Harrier canopy looked really nice when I flew it recently. And they're doing some promotion on the P-47D Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt's now running on Edge 2.7. This means you'll notice more detailed and enhanced textures throughout the cockpit and external model. And here, oh no, that's not the picture. Where's the picture? Show me the picture. Okay, they don't have the picture in the screenshots area, so this is as big as we're getting. Look, I'm going to cheat. I'll just zoom that in a bit. It does look very, very nice. It's looking very, very nice indeed, actually. So yeah, it's currently 30% off. So go ahead and buy the Thunderbolt if you have an interest in the World War II aircraft. Next in the news, the Harrier Maverick controversy and an update. I don't know if anyone was following this in the forums, but Razbam for their AV8B, right up until Wednesday, were saying that soon they were going to remove the AGM-65F. That's the infrared Maverick, which the Harrier can fire, simply because they decided that when they first made the module, they were looking to simulate an early 2000s version of the aircraft. They've got a bunch of new information, and they're looking to now upgrade the aircraft to something more matching a mid-2010s configuration. And at that stage, the US Marine Corps was no longer using the infrared Mavericks. They were only using laser Mavericks. And so Razbam, in a perfectly understandable search for authenticity and technical accuracy, made the decision to remove the infrared Maverick. This caused some people to be very, very upset and say things like they were going to refund their Harrier purchase and never buy anything from Razbam again. And I can kind of understand their point of view as well. You know, some people were feeling like, I really enjoy using the infrared Maverick. I feel like I paid for it. I had it, why should it be taken away? And it seems that after some introspection and further thought on the matter, Razbam have decided to retain the infrared Maverick, even though present-day US Marine Corps Harriers, I don't even know if they're capable of carrying it anymore. I would imagine that they're perhaps no longer capable of actually carrying it. So we get to keep the infrared Maverick, but then they added a bunch of information about what they're doing next, and this stuff sounds really, really interesting. So they're going to be adding the AGM-65E2, which is an updated version of the laser Maverick, which is pretty cool. So I'm pretty excited about that. But they're also going to be implementing some of the limitations linked to the targeting pod integration that the Harrier has. Now, previously they were simulating a much, much earlier generation of the Lightning AT. I think they were actually simulating a Generation 1. In a more recent update, they bumped that to Generation 4. But in the Generation 1, it was very, very apparent that this was something that was either a rush implementation. I mean, in the real world, I don't mean by Razbam, but when the US Marine Corps integrated Lightning AT into their Harriers, it looks like they either didn't have the money or the time, or I don't know, to properly integrate it, because so much of the HOTAS integration was just not there, was just entirely missing. And supposedly that's realistic. For so many of the functions, you had to use the push buttons on the multifunction displays. With the Generation 4 integration for the Lightning AT, most of that's been fixed, as you'll have seen in my more recent videos. You can control the targeting pod now pretty much entirely with HOTAS, although there are still some strange emissions in the form of not being able to use the zoom unless you press the buttons, and also you can't fire the laser without using the buttons on the multifunction display either. Frantic, a couple of questions. I like authenticity over salty boys. Personally, I like authenticity as well. So actually, I was on board with this change. I didn't mind. But at the same time, I think you have to give choice to your customers, for sure, your paying customers. And also, you can't really take something away once you've given it to people. They get very upset when you do that. So I understand both sides of this one. And also, Frantic says, I thought weapons were not being made by third parties anymore. That's also my understanding. I believe that Eagle Dynamics have taken on the development of all weapon systems. And I think this was... maybe I'm not right, but the feeling I got was this was after the GF-17 was released, and I can't remember the name of its missile now, but its version of the AMRAAM. I think some people got a bit salty that the Chinese missile was more capable than the AIM-120C, even though I think it is actually perhaps more capable than the AIM-120C in real life. But anyway, that upset a lot of people, and people thought that the multiplayer balance was being messed up. Different third-party model makers were going to be overstating or understating the capabilities of certain weapon systems. So my reading of all of this, I've not seen any actual official statement, but my reading of all of this is that Eagle were like, okay, we're going to take this in-house, we'll be in charge of all the weapons. So yes, Frantic, I think that is the case. So yeah, sorry, I was talking about limitations about the T-Pod. So this is interesting. I'd heard this mentioned before with regards to the AV-8B. T-Pod video cannot be displayed at the same time as Maverick video. Now you see quite a lot of people in DCS displaying T-Pod on one MFD and Maverick, infrared Maverick video on the other. Apparently this is something that the real Harrier has never been capable of doing. It can only actually take a single video source at a time. So the other thing is, also, apparently, whenever the T-Pod is not on screen, the HOTAS controls revert to the non-T-Pod mode, which actually makes a lot more sense to me. Yeah, that actually seems like it's a good way for it to work. But anyway, because the AGM-65 is a lock-on before launch type of weapon, the missile cannot be guided by the launching aircraft. The AGM-65E2 gets around this limitation because it can be uncaged and launched from within the T-Pod page. So I don't fully understand how the original AGM-65E could work then, if it's not possible to uncage it. Like, you've got your T-Pod up, you have your target, you fire the laser in the T-Pod, and then the moment you bring up your AGM-65E, the T-Pod is deactivated? I don't really understand this. They do mention it's possible to switch to the Maverick momentarily, and I believe there's like something like a 15-second timer, during which time, even when the T-Pod is not the active sensor of interest, the laser will continue to fire. So there are probably some janky workarounds for this. Once again, the Harrier being a weird beast with strange avionics and integrations. Apparently the E2 can lock onto the T-Pod laser source if the laser is fired before the missile is engaged, and the targeting pod is on station 4. So this is going to be cool. Maverick missile employment will be updated to reflect the real-world workload of the pilot when using the weapon, thanks to information the SMEs have access to. Now, this is the next exciting bit. There are some updates on what they're going to be working on next. And the very first thing that they call out here is IFF configuration menus to allow them to be used by SRS. this is actually a request that I put in. I'm really excited. And originally I was told that they wouldn't be able to do this. But it would appear from this announcement that they will be able to do this. So there's been a change on that one. And I personally am very excited by this. I think this is fantastic because we already have the ability when connecting LOT ATC to a DCS server to use IFF with the F-16 and the F-18 and with certain other aircraft. Being able to do this also with the Harrier is super cool. Means that you can be assigned transponder codes, squawk codes by your human ATC. So good on you, Razbam. This is a really cool thing to add. Ability to make overlays from the data page for the moving map. So this is, currently you can define overlays in the mission editor, which will show things like tanker positions and certain other things. They're now suggesting that you can do it while in the cockpit. That's really cool. And then there's another one which just blew my mind when I saw it. We will contact the combat flight team to see how we can integrate the Harrier with this software. Now, I'm probably going to read quite a bit too much into this, but bear with me. Combat Flight, by the way, if you're not familiar, is a really, really excellent piece of flight planning software. It resembles the kinds of flight planning software that real military pilots use, and this is the kind of thing that you would use to program your DTC, your data cartridge, that you would bring with you to the aircraft and plug in. So your data cartridge is going to include your waypoints or your steer points if you're an F-16, your target points, your weapon profiles, even what pages you want displayed on each MFD in particular modes, your countermeasure dispenser programs, ECM programs, like your radio presets. All of that stuff is loaded into the cartridge, and those cartridges are programmed by a piece of software just like this. This is of course intended for flight simulation use, but it looks to me very much like the real deal. So Razbam say they're going to integrate Combat Flight. What does this mean? Does this mean we're getting the data cartridge for the Harrier, and we're going to have the ability to pre-program our aircraft before getting in the cockpit, using a piece of desktop software like Combat Flight, which is really authentic looking? If this is the case, my heart rate just went up. That's how excited I am about this, because I'm really looking forward to the F-16 and the F-18. Well, I'm really looking forward to Eagle Dynamics creating a generic solution for this, because so many of the aircraft in the sim right now in the real world would have the ability to be pre-programmed using their data cartridges. We already have an implementation in the form of, in the case of the Viggen, and we kind of have an implementation in the JF-17 as well, which I maybe will show you guys soon. Although with the JF-17 you're just interacting with the ground crew to program your data cartridge. But using a piece of software like Combat Flight to set up everything for your aircraft before you even get in the cockpit, Razbam, is this what you're going to do? Because if this is what you're going to do, I am super excited. And I'm already a huge Harrier fanboy. I already really like what you guys have done. If you're adding this, then my mind is blown. Sorry, I've been ignoring the chat. I got too excited. Almost like arguing to remove certain ammo from certain tanks because they didn't have access to it on a specific date. Blah, 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 blah. Moist towelettes. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. What else? Loft bombing profile. This one's really exciting. Loft bombing is something the F-16 is also capable of in real life, and I assume Eagle will be adding that to the F-16 at some point. But having loft bombing in the Harrier is going to be really fun, especially because the Harrier is basically a tiny bomb truck. It can carry so many bombs. So many bombs. And update to all the training missions and addition of new ones. So that's super cool. And Baltic Dragon is continuing to work on the new manual. So that's going to be cool. Still no ETA as far as I'm aware. So, I gotta say, this is a pretty clear piece of communication from Razbam. I like the fact that they listened to the community. Yeah, short version from me. This gets a big thumbs up. I'm really excited to see new versions of the Laser Maverick. Really excited to see realistic limitations with regards to video feeds and targeting pod, and things like the IFF integrating Combat Flight. You guys are just nuts, absolutely nuts. This is super cool. Okay, another thing that popped up, actually, I've lost my link, so give me a moment while I look for it. This was actually like breaking news. This is something I almost missed. F16J, so... where is it? Here we go. Take a little look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Wagner dropped this video just as I was making my final preparations for this live stream, and they have the JSO in the F16. I assume this is being added in the next update. So in the previous update to the F16 we got the JDAM, and in the next update I assume we're getting the JSO, and it's looking pretty nice. Now apparently the US Air Force only employs the A model of the JSO, that's AGM 154A, I think. So that's the one that drops little bomblets, and these are designed for personnel, soft targets, lightly armoured targets. So this is not the one that will destroy tanks, but it is the one that will create a lot of boom. And so let me just see if I can show you guys what that lot of boom looks like. Our man Wagner here has dropped 2 of these. They're flying towards their target. These targets are BMPs, as I recall, so not an ideal target to use against these, but just take a look at what happens after these things go off. You're looking at a lot of tiny explosions. So stand by. Oh, there we go. Boom, boom, boom. And I've got the audio turned off, but it does sound pretty amazing when it's going off. Yes, Mark S. Sorry, sadly no dotChuckles this week. So, yes, looking really, really cool. Very excited to see this. I almost missed this video because it was posted practically just before I was preparing for the stream. So that's coming in the next update, I'd imagine. I'm just going to show you guys one more of these going off because I think they're pretty cool. So yeah, it's a glide bomb and it drops lots of tiny little cluster munitions on the target as it passes over. Pretty cool stuff. And again, this is a small formation of BMPs. Yep, boom! It splits up. And I imagine any moment now we're going to see a lot of tiny... there we go, tiny explosions. And I think it actually destroyed one of the BMPs even. So that's pretty damn cool. And then, what else is going on this week? Well, we have a video from Razbam again. Brand new radar technology being used in the DCS M2000C. All rendering overhead is offloaded to unused cores. It uses about 15% on a CPU core, but it's an unused one because, of course, DCS at this point is still, well, I was going to say single-threaded. It's kind of dual-threaded because you've got the main thread and then your sound system thread. So Razbam were showing off this video on Facebook, which is demonstrating the kind of ground mapping capabilities of the radar. Well, in fact, it's not ground mapping. The radar in the M2000C is not an air-to-ground radar, but it has this terrain awareness mode, and that's what we're seeing here, which is pretty damn cool if you ask me. And looks really good, and very, very interesting that Razbam are implementing technology that allows them to do this kind of thing outside of the sim and on an unused CPU core. So you're going to get really nice results like this without impacting your frames or creating any kind of a stuttering. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much it for this week. I was also wanting to call out Combat Flight, simply because it was mentioned in Razbam's announcement about the Harrier, and I'd used this software a good few years back and had kind of forgotten about it, but got to recommend this. This is a big call out here because it's super good. It's entirely integrated into DCS. There isn't a DTC capability yet, but that's because Eagle doesn't provide one as yet, but you do at the very least have the ability to make custom countermeasure dispenser setting files, which is pretty cool, with a graphical user interface. You have the ability to create briefing packs, which will give you like maps and all kinds of other information. What else? Yeah, you can do flight and package planning. The cool thing is it takes in a DCS mission file. You can do all your planning and it then outputs a mission file again. So if you make changes to waypoints, adjust timings, set time on target, things like that, it's actually ingested into the sim, which is pretty cool. Yeah, you can work out things like line of sight plots, vertical route profiles, terrain elevation, absolutely everything. Really, really cool. And it has integration with some of the modules as well. So in the case of the Viggen, you can create a data cartridge that the Viggen will actually load. You can import data from the Viggen's ELINT pod and actually map out the positions of radar systems, which is pretty cool. And it can also work with the NS430, which is also very, very cool. So if you haven't used it before, take a look at this, and who knows, if you're a Harrier pilot, you might be making a bit more use of this in the future, which is pretty exciting. So it's been something of a quiet news week this week. That is basically everything that I have for you guys. Like I said before, we're going to be continuing with F-16 tutorial videos, with the next one being air-to-air guns. I'll be doing that next week. As you know, during the week I tend to do streams from time to time, mainly Escape from Tarkov. I'll be continuing to do that, so you'll probably see me on Monday doing a little bit of Tarkov then. But every Saturday at 7:30 PM Eastern European time, I'm doing a premiere of one of my tutorial videos, which is the F-16 right now, and then going straight into the DCS news, normally with dotChuckles, but sadly no dotChuckles this week. If you look in the show notes, you'll see links to dotChuckles' Twitch channels and other bits and bobs. Please check them out, take a look at his content as well, and in the meantime, I hope you all enjoyed this. Fly safe, and I'll see you all next time.